So in my perusals of Craigslist and Facebook Marketplace, once in a while I find a vehicle that I just absolutely have to have. And fortunately, or unfortunately, this is one of them. So this is a four-wheel drive, stepside, short bed with a manual transmission on the floor, SM465, granny low, 4-speed, and it's got a 6-cylinder in it. Why is that special, you ask? Well, I'm going to show you the 6-cylinder and then you can judge for yourself. So here she is, freshly delivered. I am going to do a quick walk around to this just so you can see how beautiful it is. It's leaning a little bit because we got a rear tire blowout back there. That's fine, we can fix that. This door is a little bit, she's a little bit saggy. I'm not going to open her because I'm afraid she's going to come right off the hinges. Let me show you the bed here. This is a step side. It's been modified a little bit. They took the steps out and put in these exhaust stacks. The bed is mostly intact, has a steel plate welded in the floor. I believe these would have been wood slats, if I'm thinking correctly. Has this added headache rack. The side fenders, really good shape. We got dual mirrors here. You know, for when one mirror doesn't do the trick, we got two. That's fine. We got this nice winch on the front. I think this is a 8,000 pound. Have to look it up when I can find the numbers, but it's kind of like an 8,000 pound winch, but I have a feeling it's been sitting for a while and it needs probably some unsticking and lubrication and that kind of thing to get her moving smoothly again, just because it's been sitting for so long. This is four-wheel drive, as you can tell. 6-bolt axles, and let me show you the interior here. It's mint. Seats don't even have a rip in them. Nice buckets. Why the headrests even move? Look at that. Rear sliding window. Dash pad doesn't even have a crack in it. Nice early 70s steering wheel. Got the SM465 in it. She's a little bit holy in the firewall there. Of course, standard, I don't know what the transfer case is, 208, 205, I don't know, something like that. But the back, the interior of the cab and everything, it's really good. It's just dirty. Now down here, of course, the cab corners and the rocker panels, they need some help, and the firewall. And up around here, that apparently so often rusts out down here in Florida on these square bodies, which I didn't know about. This style door lock, okay. Okay, yep, shuts like brand new. Got wires hanging out through the door. I'm sure that's fine. All right, let me pop the hood here and show you what we got sitting under there. So, like I said, this is a 6-cylinder. Oh, I wasn't lying. It's a 6-cylinder. It's just a 6-cylinder diesel. I gotta pull the numbers off of this thing. I'm gonna climb up here and show you. All its glory. So it is set up for air conditioning, and I've got some other goodies in here, like an air pump, and it does have power steering. So what do we got down here? I gotta sort through all this thing and find out where everything is. This goes to the power steering down here. Is it? But what drives it? Look at the size of that starter. Anyway, I think the data plate for this engine is back there maybe. I gotta crawl back there and see what I can find. This is either a 6BB1 or a 6BD1. The D1 would be a little bit later, have a little bit more horsepower. The BB1 is based off of, I think, a 5.4 liter, and the BD1 is a 5.7 liter. That's a pretty big engine. I've been looking for the numbers I have access to, like the intake manifold number, but it doesn't really tell me a whole lot, honestly. Air horns. But the AC is hooked up and intact, which you never find on these old rigs. Everybody takes AC off, but the gentleman who built this put a lot of time and effort into fabricating everything to make this fit in a square body. And as you can see, the core support doesn't appear to be modified at all. Fits right in there with the radiator, and just barely, or you know what, 3/4 an inch maybe between the radiator and the fan. Looks like this shroud is fabricated. That's nice. Even did that so you don't accidentally cut your arms off. It does have this air over hydraulic brake system, because diesels don't make vacuum. So this is set up off the air tank, air compressor, and then that would run your booster here to run your brakes. Ordinarily they would go with a Hydro Boost system, which runs off the power steering pump, but obviously the power steering on this is a little different, so, which again I'll have to take a look at. Not sure on any of that. Not sure on any of this. I do want to check if this is a 12 volt or 24 volt system. I believe it's a 12 volt. Yeah, we got both positives hooked together. They had it set up for 2 batteries, which is nice. But it also has this this heater for winter, which basically just heats the coolant in the line, and then it kind of circulates through convection and heats your engine up. That is jammed right up against the firewall, isn't it? That's fine. When I go to start it up, I'm going to take all this off so I can access the throttle and fuel and everything that's down there. Oh, she's off already. Oh, we don't have an air filter. Okay, that's good to know. Anyway, I'm gonna try to pull some numbers. Oh, we've got a number on top of the valve cover. 12442. We'll have to look that up. That is hand stamped, so it's not a part number. This is an Isuzu. This is what an Isuzu part number looks like. As you can see, the firewall has some issues there. To access that, I had to pull the drivetrain out pretty much, because otherwise you're welding and everything back in there around the engine, which isn't nice. So to fix that, if I decide this truck is salvageable, which I certainly hope that it is, I know you don't think that looking at it, but I think everything is salvageable. But if I decide that it is, I'll either pull the drivetrain out or I'll pull the cab off, and then we'll figure that out. It might make it a nice chance to clean up the drivetrain if that's what we decide. I don't know any direction I'm going to go with this project yet. The first step is to get it running. I don't know what kind of engine mounts are fabbed up for this. Ordinarily these engines would have the mounts would be on the sides of the transmission and the front of the engine on these big heavy-duty commercial things, and I think he fabbed them into regular rubber mounted. He did it the right way. They're not hard mounted. I don't know if you can see that down there. They are rubber mounted engine mounts. The reason I like this truck, when I was looking at it, everything, there were no half measures taken on when he fabbed this stuff up and put it in. Like, everything is done the right way, you know, rubber mounts and bushings, and the clearances are carefully measured and taken care of, and everything is still accessible the way it's dropped in here. I guess he fabbed this bumper too. This is a this is a heavy-duty bumper here. This is quite a winch bumper. And on the rear, I don't know if I showed you the rear. This is all. This under the trailer hitch is a counterweight, I'm told, because the engine's so heavy. This bumper is nice and heavy as well, and of course it's got a trailer hitch on it. It's got these exhaust stacks that, now that one appears to have rusted a little bit. It must have been chrome at one time. I don't know what the muffler looks like, but I hope it has a muffler. If not, it's going to be really loud. Anyway, the grill is intact. The grill is unbroken. Look at that. Yeah, all the chrome and everything is in real nice shape. Just needs some new sheet metal. Even the parking lights up here are in good shape. So I'm thinking, yeah. Oh, and the hood has the supports already fastened on to keep it from kinking, as they do. And as you can see, the hood is unbent. The only problem with the hood is up here in the front, how they get the two halves separate. This could be fixed with some fabrication without too much effort. Just have to cut out that rust and fabricate up some metal pieces. I wonder if they make a hood repair piece for the front. I don't know. At that point, you just buy a whole new hood, I guess, but I don't have that kind of money, so anything we repair on this, we're going to be repairing with metal and a welder rather than trying to buy new parts. This front piece here obviously is almost gone, and the fenders are okay except for the lower portions. Doors, yeah, doors are pretty well, they've got issues. Like I said, I'm not going to open this door because it's scary. A fuel tank, I guess he opted for the rear tank there rather than side saddle tanks or anything, because it looks like we got an air tank over there. So this is your fuel fill here. Looks like there's an inline fuel filter there. That's actually pretty nice. That's smart. It is raised up on blocks. I don't know if you can see that block. It's got like 6-inch lift blocks. The front has to be raised too because it's sitting high. Don't know what he did there. Axle flip maybe? I'm not sure how these axles normally sit. They sit over the leaf springs in the front? I don't know. This has to be raised in the front. This is way over stock height. So the story on this truck is that the gentleman who built it for himself and then unfortunately passed away. So it went to his estate. Anyway, it ended up sitting and unfortunately deteriorated, but he said they did fire it up a couple years ago. So it's only been a couple of years since it last ran. And he said when they fired it up, it did fire right up after it had been sitting. So that's a good sign. So that's the story on this. And of course he fabbed up all this. He did all the work himself, fabbed all this up, and painted it up, made it look nice and everything like that. And that is a Bondo scraper. That's one way to patch a hole. That looks like something I would do. Maybe I worked on this truck. So he did all the fab work himself and adapted this engine into it. Apparently the engine was brand new when he put it in, and it's only got a couple thousand miles on it because that's all he got to drive it, unfortunately, before he passed away. So it should be in relatively good condition, I'm hoping. It should be a very nice drivetrain. Just the body needs a little bit of work. That's it. Oh, brought part of the yard with us. That's fine. The doors. Got a little bit of Bondo there. Nothing major. The doors need some work. So like I said, I'm not sure what's going to happen with this. The first step is to get it running, but I'm not sure what my goal down the line for this truck is. We're going to have to do an evaluate the drivetrain and what we have here, and see how much we want to take apart to get it in decent condition. I think for a little bit of money, and I know it sounds nuts, but I mean, you can get the fenders and the doors and the hoods, and you can buy that sheet metal used. That's not really a problem. If I can't salvage this truck, this engine would make a great ready drop-in for another square body, such as our crew cab, which I've been talking about putting a diesel in. We'll have to see how well this runs and evaluate it, and how much horsepower it is. If it's the small engine, it's only going to have about 125, 130 horsepower. If it's the bigger engine, you're up near 140 horsepower, but you're up around 300 foot-pounds of torque. The smaller engine, I think, is about 250 foot-pounds of torque, which isn't a lot. The big engine is okay for a truck. These are naturally aspirated, no turbocharger. They did make a turbocharged version of this, and you can add on a turbocharger, of course, because the manifolds are the same, but they have different pistons, and the turbo version has oil squirters at the bottom of the pistons. The difference is the turbo version has a little bit stronger ring lands on the top to prevent the ring from moving around and braking and that sort of thing under the extra load. So you can add turbo kits to these, but I've heard mixed results on whether that's a good thing or a bad thing. Personally, I prefer the naturally aspirated because they're simple, reliable, and there's nothing to go wrong. I'm not a big power person. I don't like to rip the wheels off with all kinds of horsepower. I just like enough get up and go to keep me moving in my daily life and have it run forever. And that's what these engines do best. That's where we're at as far as plans. I'm not going to make any plans beyond that until I can get this thing running and driving and see where we're at. Okay, so I'm starting to sort out kind of how he did this system. So we've got our alternator, AC compressor, and then our alternator over here with, I don't know, something, it's turning something else on the back that has oil lines out of it. This down here is an air compressor. I know it's kind of hard to see down in here, but down in there, kind of wedged up against the radiator, that is a hydraulic pump, or a large hydraulic pump that's mounted spun right off the engine. I guess it's gear driven. And that's how he's running the power steering, through that hydraulic pump. So it doesn't have a power steering pump per se, it's just got it's using a massive industrial hydraulic pump. Throttle, relatively simple. He just hooked the throttle cable right into the linkage here, and that's what this red cord is here. That's the throttle linkage, throttle cable. Relatively simple install that he did here. Now, because we have that hydraulic pump, we could replace that with a hydro boost unit. I don't know what, I mean, obviously the master cylinder's shot, but I don't know what kind of condition all that's in. And I've never operated one of those air valve brake things before, so we might end up replacing that system. Well, the first step, I think, is to maybe clean this thing up a little bit and see how much of the truck comes off, much weight reduction, and well, let's see what we wind up with. So I don't know, let's do a little bit of cleaning. Yeah, that didn't really help it much. Well, I mean, it doesn't have that black mold on it anymore, but yeah, she definitely lost some weight through that pressure washing with paint and body work and things coming off. So now we can see what we're working with. Some people would ask, well, why'd you bother to wash that thing? But honestly, I'm probably going to be taking everything off the frame and everything if I'm going to deal with any part of this. Even if I'm not going to deal with it, I'm probably going to take it off the frame. So all of these parts have to come off and be unbolted, so it's easier if they're clean. So that's why. I guess the next step is to see if we can get this engine running. I feel like at some point in the future, my yard is going to have to be dug up for its vast iron ore supplies from all the rust that I've poured into it over the years. All right, let's take a look in the passenger side of this thing. Okay, let's put that back and pretend we didn't. Uh-oh. Oh boy. I didn't see nothing. Oh man, that is so much worse than I thought. Oh dear. Oh, that's very gone. Oh guys, this is a repair. That's foam, construction foam. Well now, well, this truck's a little bit more gone than I thought. Well, that may change my plans a little bit. I might have to, I don't know. I mean, yeah, anything can be fixed, but whoo! Oh my goodness. It's just completely gone. Just completely and utterly gone. This isn't even, well, okay. All right. Well, that's unfortunate. Huh. How do I get this back on? Oh, here's the ups man. I wonder if he'll help me. No, he's not here for me. Yeah, she'll be fine. She didn't go another 60,000 miles. Well, the time has come to try to fire this up. Normal people would probably use 2 batteries like it's designed for, but since I've got this truck battery, we're going to use that. So I have a little bit of slack in the line because I took the cable that goes over here and I'm going to run it up to there. It's nice heavy gauge cable. I took the air filter off housing because it doesn't have an air filter in it anyway, number one, and number two, if something happens, I want to be able to shut off as much air as possible to the engine to back it off or shut it down. I found the shutdown cable, what I assume is a shutdown cable. It's this metal cable here that goes down there. Unfortunately, I don't know which end is shut off and which end is turn on, so I guess we're gonna experiment a little bit. I could Google it, but I'm too lazy. Now with the air filter housing removed, we can see a little bit better. Well, maybe not. The hydraulic pump down there. I can finally see the hand primer that I was told leaks on the injection pump. I don't know if you can see it. And I don't know what's going to happen. I got to clean these battery cables and terminals up and mate them all together. And the farthest we got before I bought it was verified that the engine turned over and it wasn't locked. That's all I know about it. I know nothing else about this. I did make sure the throttle cable wasn't stuck. All right, this battery's fully charged. I'm sure it won't stay that way because, you know, playing with diesel engines, but I don't know. Let's see if we can get it to turn over fast enough to do anything, and then maybe see if we need to bleed it. All right, we got cables hooked up. I wrapped tape around there to cover the cracks, so if we do get a runaway, I can just smack that over there. I checked the oil. It does have coolant in it. It's a little bit down from the top because this doesn't have a reservoir tank, and I'm sure it bubbled over. And you know, you lose the first little bit of coolant there when it heats up. Well, I don't know. Let's do a first systems check here. Okay, we got. Did they put the speedometer in here from? Yeah, they put a mechanical speedometer in there from something else. Oh, that's going to be interesting. Okay, so I assume this is the shutdown. Oh, I hear something clicking. Okay, let's try and turn it over. Nothing. What do these buttons do? Oh, this is the start button. That must be air horns. I don't know what that is. Okay. I'm sure it's out of gear. Too late. That's okay. I think I knew that. I think I knew it was out of gear, maybe. Okay, it turns over a little reluctantly, but it does turn over. Let's I didn't think it was going to fire right up, but you never know. Let's start a fuel system bleed. All right, after much cranking, I have this fitting loosened here. They've helpfully put an arrow on there, so I'm getting liquid. Oh, there we go. Okay, let's tighten that up. What else? I mean, I don't know. Let's fill the filter, I guess. Till it gets harder than it is.
7 hours later.
Smell old diesel. Let's get this off of here so it doesn't catch fire. All right. Where is the end of the injection pump here? Down there. This must be a return because I see something going back to the tank. So this is probably the in. It would make sense because it's the big one there. Let's see if I can loosen that. Maybe we can do the rest through cranking. I don't know. Let's find out. Crank it a little bit and maybe bleed the injectors. Let's see. Let me loosen these up, I think. If I can get that last one. Last one might have to bleed itself. It is right up against that lift point. Well, we got the front 5 loosened. Let's crank it over a little bit and see if we get any fuel. Not a drop. No, I think we got a little bit there. Yeah, we got some fuel there. All right, let me, oh, we lost the radiator cap. Oh, we had a little pressure there. It gave a squirt. Yeah, we definitely got some fuel there. This one, we're not getting any, and this one, a little bit maybe. Let's try her again. This is a step to get up into. I don't know if the ignition has to be on to do this or what, but... Well, here we got some dripping. This one is Probably bled partially. We'll just screw that in a little tighter there. Oh, this one we're definitely getting some too. Okay. Where are we at with pressure? Can't tell where I hear air from exactly. Up here maybe? This wasn't wet before. It's wet now. I feel like we might be getting a little bit out of there. That hose is not intact. Oh, these trucks. I don't know what's going on. Maybe the main road out there is closed. What do we got here? We're getting oil pressure. That's a good thing. Still hear air hissing around here somewhere when I press the primer. But there's no fuel coming out, so I don't know. Replaced this little section of hose here because it was old and cracked and worn, and this is just a return, but still we don't want it sucking in air. Get any fuel? No, I didn't. So I guess I need to check to make sure the lift pump is actually working properly and pulling fuel through the system. So I'm gonna loosen this and crank it and see if it pumps fuel out. If it's working, it should pump a good deal of fuel out of there. That's no good. Alright, I pulled the feed pump, and well, this roller rides on a cam lobe inside the pump, and it's not springing out. I think it should be pressurized somehow other than with gravity, because it sits like this, so gravity can't push it out. I feel like there's supposed to be a spring or a part of the pump that's not working there, so I'm going to take this apart, take this screw out, take it apart. Let's see what we have. Now I can push it back and forth with my fingers. Let's see what happens when we fasten this down. Yep, I think it'll be sufficient. Well, I hear it trying to pump, so that's a good sign. We got the feed pump back on. Alright, so I'm going to prime it again. I'll loosen it up here, prime it till we get some fuel out. Put you guys up there where you can see, hopefully. Loosen the primer here. Oh yeah, we're getting fuel now. Okay, feed pump is pumping. All right, where are we at on this thing? Well, I got the feed pump working, so when I crank it, I have fuel coming up to the filter and down to the injection pump. But I don't know if any of the check valves or anything. There's a check valve in each top of one of those outputs on the injection pump, but I don't know their state. And looking at the feed pump with the diesel in there, keeping that plunger from moving, I don't know, those check valves might be worthwhile taking apart. So I guess I'm going to try to take those check valves off maybe. First thing I need to do is take each connection off the pump and verify we're getting fuel out during cranking. To do that, since there's only one of me, I need to get a remote switch to crank it over so I can stand here and look at it and crank it over. And well, I think the easiest way to do that is to just pull this switch out of the thing here and take it with me into the engine compartment. So I guess that's step one. Let's remove that switch and move it out there. All right, so I got my switch here for the starter. So I loosened this first. I don't know if you can see it here. I loosened this first one. So let's see if we get fuel out of that when I crank it over. Nope, that's a negative. Okay, let's take that out and see what the check valves look like. Alright, so now you guys can't see very well. I've loosened the first fuel injector thing. So there's a spring-loaded system in here of valves. I'll show you in a second. Don't drop anything. So when I turn this over, fuel should come up out of there. If it doesn't, then that means there's something wrong with the pump. Okay, we got fuel, that's good. So let's clean this up, and basically we'll go through with each one of those and clean up the valves, check valves and return valves and all that. I can't remember the actual proper names for them, but that doesn't matter. It's the function that matters. And then we'll put this all back together, probably blow out the fuel lines, that kind of thing. Because, well, they're probably pretty good inside, but we'll blow them out just to be sure. I didn't get any junk down in there. So we'll do all that boring stuff and then get back to you. Cleaned the first two delivery valves there. So, there's my switch here. Let's see if we get any fuel out of these. Oh, we get fuel out of that one. Let me clean a few out, see at the very least if we can get it, see how the others behave. The plunger assembly down inside could be gunked up, but let's see how much else we need to do here. Let's see if any of the others are messed up. So the way this delivery valve works is there's two pieces here. This is supposed to move up and down. I've pushed it out a little bit, but as you can see, it's still stuck. That's supposed to be free to be able to move up and down against the spring inside this housing. And then of course this copper seal washer just goes around the top of the delivery valve section here, like so. And this valve is supposed to move against a spring in here, and then there's just an orifice in there that flows freely. So what we've got here is these are stuck from fuel sitting up in there. So I'm going through and I'm loosening all these individually. So the way this is supposed to work is it's supposed to be completely loose in here, like this. So it can move in and out against its guides very easily. This is also what keeps the fuel lines up to the injectors pressurized with high pressure fuel so that it'll start up faster. So when fuel presses back against this, it closes, and that spring pressure helps it. So it needs pressure to overcome that spring pressure to push it up, and that pushes fuel into the line, and then it'll snap closed again when the plunger isn't pushing fuel into it. So that will keep the high pressure fuel in the line all the time. I have 3 of the delivery valves pumping fuel, and these two, number 1 and number 3, the plunger's moving on 3, but the plunger's not moving on 1. The plunger should move up and down when I crank it over. As you can see, it's not moving, so that means probably the mechanism, the spring mechanism, is jammed up down below. Hopefully it hasn't damaged anything. But the plunger is moving on number 3, and I'm not sure why it's not delivering fuel. So the first thing I see is number 1. I don't know if you can see that washer sticking out. So, you know, my best guess is that washer isn't supposed to be sticking out there, because, yeah, I'm sure it's not. Well, update. This pump, this fuel injection pump, apparently has been sitting so long that not only is it gummed up, but when I took that side cover off and cranked it, I can see that I think it's number 4. The seals on number 4 are leaking diesel down into the oil chamber, which means it's not a good idea to run it like that because you'll get lots of diesel in your oil over time. So that needs rebuilt. I'm going to look into rebuild kits, or at the very least whatever parts I need to rebuild that. And I don't even know about the governor section, so I have to get to that pump. And I think the easiest way to do that is to strip the front end off this truck and get as much junk out of the way as I can, because these are all parts that are going to have to come off anyway. This isn't a highly expensive engine like a Cummins or anything that you would want to put a ton of money into, because it doesn't make much power at the end of the day. It's not a powerhouse, and it's not a highly desirable engine except for people like me that just want fuel mileage and a little grunt power. And I still haven't got up to the injectors yet. I'm gonna have to probably, now those are rebuildable, I can pull them out and I can take them apart and you know, clean them if they aren't firing, and I'm pretty sure they're not firing because I can't even get any puffs out of this thing. So the injectors are going to have to be cleaned, the injection pump is going to have to be taken apart and cleaned, and the washer that I showed you, I did manage to pull the washer out to see what was the deal, and it chopped off a section there, and there's the section, which, okay, it's good I have the section, that's fine, but what did we damage during that process? I need to take a look at that. So either I'm going to have to send the pump off to be rebuilt for probably a small fortune, get a new pump for an even larger fortune, or look at it myself. I have a feeling this truck was sitting for way longer than I was led to believe, even though, I mean, I kind of knew what I was getting into here. So, and there's always a possibility when you tackle one of these diesels that you're going to end up digging into the injection pump. But I think the next step, so we can get to that and see where we're at, because I haven't spent any money yet, and even pulling that injection pump off and taking a look at it, won't be spending any money, just my time. So what are we going to do with this truck? Well, I would really like to save it, because, you know, this is the classic style, and this is the style everybody loves, and I personally also like it. I picked this truck because, you know, it hits a soft spot for me with the short bed step side and everything else. I don't know if we can get this engine running cheap enough, because these injection pumps go for a couple $1,000s rebuilt. I'm having a hard time finding this specific pump. I may try to rebuild it myself. It's a very precision operation, and I may need some pistons and plungers for the pump itself. My ultimate goal is to save this truck. The problem is I don't have a lot of money to do that, so I need a front clip. That's not hard to find. Everybody has front clips everywhere. Whether it's going to end up still being this original generation front clip or the later generation that's more square, that remains to be seen. It depends what I can find cheap enough. I need a new cab for it. Originally I thought I could save this cab until I took that passenger side door off and saw how bad the pillar was. By the time I get done buying all the individual sheet metal panels to patch this, that cost is probably more than it would be to find a new used different cab. Then I need doors for it, which I can try and find used doors. Doors are a little bit more expensive, but I'll see what I can find. The bed is in usable shape the way it is. It just needs a little bit of elbow grease and some dents taken out and repainted and blasted down. The frame and chassis are really good. I don't want to throw this thing away because I don't like to give up on any project, and I'm a little too tenacious when it comes to these things. Sometimes I end up throwing too much time and effort into them, and you know, I get very little return on my investment. But at the end of the day, if I do that, I've saved another truck from the scrapyard. And this thing ultimately was probably definitely on its way to the scrapyard, or even worse, deteriorating further. So I need a cab, and for some reason I'm having a hard time finding cheap ones in my area right now. It doesn't have to have a title. I can work that out. If you're in the northern Florida area and you have a cab, I'm willing to drive a little bit to get one, if the price is right. Any square body regular cab I can make work on this thing. Same thing goes for the front clip. If you've got a front clip or something, and again you want to help save this project, and you've just got it sitting around, and you know, even if it's just a little bit rusty or if it's got surface rust, I don't care. I can deal with that. This is like one of my favorite square bodies, other than the crew cabs and everything. This is one of my favorites and always has been. And the story behind this, you know, the guy who originally built this put a lot of time and effort into this, and this was his truck and his project and kind of his forever truck. So, you know, I'd really like to do him justice. You know, even though he's not around to see it anymore, I'd really like to save this thing if at all possible. I don't have a lot of money to do that, but I do have time and elbow grease and maybe a little bit of, I don't know, a little bit of skill, maybe not, but I have the capability to swap this cab and this front clip and everything, and that's the important thing. So yeah, I'd really like to save this thing. If you want to see more on this more of this truck on this channel, if I can find the parts for it, we're definitely going to see more of this truck. If I can get this engine running, you're definitely going to see it. I don't know what's going to come of this truck or this engine or anything yet, but I'm almost certain that it's going to show up on the channel again, and this is going to be a series. Everybody has told me how much they want to see it and how much they want it to turn into a series, and I would really like that too. If you watch the channel, some of my other videos, I very rarely, if ever, I don't think I've ever on the channel done a frame off, you know, from the frame up, where I've actually, you know, worked on everything and stripped it down and then built it back up again. And to some people it might be too far gone in a rust bucket, but it's really not, because the frame is great and you can get replacements. There's so many square bodies out there and people parting them out. There's no reason why we can't save this thing if we can find the parts. That's the important thing. So if you have any parts that I can use to fix this thing, let me know. I don't have a lot of money to spend, but you know, if the price is right, I'm willing to drive a little bit. So hit me up. Email address to do that at, I'll put it down there too on the screen and in the description. But email address is tradecraftspecialties@gmail.com. That's all one word, Tradecraft Specialties. So if you have anything I can use, please let me know, and maybe you can help save this thing. As always, I appreciate likes, subscriptions. Definitely subscribe if you want to see this again, because no matter what, there's going to be more on this coming. I don't know how long it's going to take, so bear with me, please. Bear with me for the time on this. It might take a while, but we will get to it. Please like, subscribe. Let's get more eyeballs on this video so that we can get more people in the area to, you know, hit me up if they have parts. And as always, thanks for watching.